told you that allegedly buried under miles of ice are pyramids, some people think UFOs, secret bases, and maybe the biggest cover-up on Earth that exists. Antarctica is still mostly unexplored, and not to mention, it's very isolated and has limited access, so whatever happens there is basically completely out of the public eye because of the Antarctic Treaty System that was signed in 1959. This was a treaty, the only treaty that all these countries got together and agreed on, and they have kept to it. It's pretty much all the main players, America, China, Russia, all the ones that really have the resources to get down to Antarctica. They signed this treaty stating that Antarctica is only to be used to peaceful purposes and scientific research. This treaty only adds more fuel to the theory fire, okay? It's just another layer of restriction and secrecy that leaves a lot of people with a lot more questions. It says that there's no military activity that's allowed there, no mining for resources, and no single country owns it. It's supposedly one of the only places on Earth that is dedicated to cooperation and discovery. The fact that these countries can't get along about anything. They're always threatening to fire one of them things off. Got my finger on the red button. You know what I'm saying? All of that stuff. But that, they've all agreed. Okay, pinky promises. And they kept it. Weird. One of the most talked about theories that I've seen is that instead of there being like this continent at the bottom of the globe, they claim that Antarctica isn't necessarily at the bottom like we see on a globe. They believe that it's actually just like this ice wall all the way around everything. This boundary wall is also believed to be an ice wall that is hundreds of feet tall, kind of like the wall in the Game of Thrones, if any of you guys watched that TV series. This theory says that outside of the ice wall are other unknown lands, other worlds, or hidden civilizations. Maybe even like you would think like the wildlings if you guys saw Game of Thrones, or the giants, or even the White Walkers, right? Like on the other side of these big ice walls, there are whole other civilizations or people living. That's what some people believe. This theory alleges that the military guards this ice wall and that regular people are not allowed to travel to Antarctica because they see the edge of the world. They claim that this is enforced under that Antarctica Treaty System agreement. Now, this is where it gets a bit sticky because there are very real travel restrictions on Antarctica. Like you need authorization to go through a country that's part of this treaty. So if you're a U.S. citizen, your trip has to be approved and regulated through U.S. authorities, and whatever tour company you go with has to follow really strict environment and safety rules. People that posted about going on these cruises to Antarctica online, they said that they had to disinfect their boots before even stepping on land. They were not allowed to leave any waste or trash behind, and the wildlife like the penguins and the seals absolutely cannot be disturbed, which they shouldn't be disturbed anyways. But even with that, it is said thousands of tourists visit Antarctica every single year. I mean, I think it would be stunning to see everything down there. But there's a man named Admiral Richard Byrd, who was a pioneering American Navy officer. He was an aviator and a polar explorer who became the youngest admiral in U.S. history. Very well respected and loved man. He is known for flying the first flights over both the North and the South Poles, just years before that treaty was signed between the nations. There is allegedly, you guys, a journal of Admiral Byrd's where he describes his flight where he saw like a hidden world with advanced beings through a portal. Now, we'll never really know the truth about this journal because a lot of people have come out and said that that's not true. Somebody made it up. It's not really his journal. But I'm going to tell y'all something that's pretty interesting is he passed away in 1957. Just 2 years before that treaty was signed by the major players and the nations, which is so interesting because he was leading these expeditions. And allegedly, this journal was found. And then 2 years before the treaty was signed, he passes away. And you know, they didn't just come up with a treaty overnight. These type of things take time. They negotiate, they go back and forth, they talk about stuff. I bet the treaty was probably already in the works when he passed away. But very interesting that he passed away right before it was signed. probably just a coinky-dink in timing. Anyways, there are some satellite images that look like parts of Antarctica are definitely being censored or being blurred out. But then again, don't worry, you guys, because the experts say that's just low resolution satellite imagery. I mean, never mind the fact that we're live streaming through 2 radiation belts while our astronauts are making a trip 280,000 miles around the moon and back to Earth. But, it's low resolution from them satellites taking pictures just from above down. Guess who else worked on Antarctica? Christina. Yes, the astronaut that just flew on the Artemis 2 for that trip around the moon. If I was a sea theorist, and I'm not, I would think they put them in certain places to test them to see how good they can keep secrets before they put them on a big mission like the moon. Because how weird is that Christina's working on Antarctica, one of the most heavily secretive and regulated things going on, period. And then they also sent her to the moon and out of space so many times. I mean, anyways, that treaty that was signed back in the 50s said that there could be no military activity in Antarctica. Well, the U.S. military does go to Antarctica to help with transport, logistics, and heavy lifting operations. Some people believe that it's actually more than just that, though. They even believe that McMurdo Base, which is a major research base, is a front that's hiding underground tunnels and facilities that are conducting secret experiments. But I do have to wonder if traveling there is so heavily restricted. I have to imagine that living there is probably pretty restricted as well. I mean, how much of the continent do these people actually see? Apparently, the people living there are only allowed to travel to approved areas. Going out alone into the wilderness is usually prohibited, and field travel requires planning, permission, and usually they have to be escorted by a guide. It is said that if the employees want to go outside of the immediate case area, they need authorization, survival training, and they have to take a radio with them to do frequent check-ins. Now, they say this is because it is just really dangerous there. Whiteouts can be a huge concern. There's dangerous crevices hidden underground and under snow, and the weather can legitimately turn life-threatening in a matter of minutes, and I definitely believe all of that. But for whatever reason, whether it be safety or whether it be that there's things that are being hidden there, or maybe just a little bit of both, the fact still remains that people who live and work there actually only see a small part of Antarctica. I mean, Antarctica is 1.5 times the size of the entire U.S., okay? Living at this base, McMurdo, is like living in a tiny, tiny town and maybe traveling a few miles outside of it. So who's to say that there isn't something hidden there? Planes are not allowed to fly over Antarctica. Now, they say it's because of the weather conditions, but it seems like there's a lot of bad weather conditions around the world where planes fly or they fly above, but you are not allowed to just fly over Antarctica. Is it because they're afraid what you're going to see? What is going on there? There was even an incident in July of last year, 2025, when a 19-year-old American pilot named Ethan from Memphis was detained for going off course and landing in Antarctica without permission. He reportedly landed on a part of Antarctica that Chile has territorial claim. They allege that Ethan submitted a false flight plan by landing where he did. He seriously endangered the safety of air traffic to Antarctica. Ethan's lawyer said that he experienced complications while he was flying, and that's why he landed. Ethan had actually been trying to raise $1 million for cancer research by becoming the first person ever to fly to all 7 continents solo, and he already had flown his plane to 6 other continents over 140 days, but he was detained in Antarctica for over 2 months for flying there. Yes. After agreeing to donate $30,000 to a children's cancer charity and accepting a 3-year ban from Chile, Ethan was finally released in September of 2025. Also, in 2048, a window will open for negotiations of that treaty. That means the parties involved in the treaty are allowed to call for a review of the treaty's protocols. All I know, again, is something strange seems to be going on down there. I find it very bizarre that 100 years ago, Admiral Byrd flew over there, went on television and said what he said, but also there's this alleged diary of his, and then just a couple years later, he passes away. Then just a couple years later, the treaty is signed. Something was found there. It wasn't just because it's this block of ice that everybody has committed to not touching, basically, or messing with. So many countries are allegedly wanting to take each other over. I mean, am I crazy here? Everybody's just leaving Antarctica alone. Other than that, I love y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching this video, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Love you guys. Bye.